this. It's not phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, but there is a few phases to this, so I ask you bear with me. I've given you a reflection sheet. It says student culture reflection sheet it should say model, it should say script, and it should say practice. We will get to that. Give me a little time, okay? Okay. Miss Bird and Mr. Winston are going to be joining me shortly to kind of roll some of this out. But I want to briefly touch on a few data pieces from prior to COVID. Prior to COVID. We did not even have an April and May in this school year. And the data I want to point out is 456 total discipline referrals. Now last year, we'll get to that here in a minute. And there's a huge disparity as well. Dr. Shaw asked us to, as an admin team last year, review this data. Pull it, review it, and then have some consensus about it. And man, number one, 456 referrals minus 2 months was alarming. These are our most frequent infractions that we found. Cell phones, failure to follow direction, which is a class 1 offense, but it could bleed into a class 2 offense, which is disobedience. The disobedience was the next common. This is broken down by subgroup. I just really wanted to touch on, it was a split on days of the week, Tuesday and Wednesday. I have really no idea why, but that was the most common days. I think you know that the most common time during the day was centered around 4th period and after, really 5th period and beyond. But sorry, I didn't mean to show you all that. But essentially, I wanted you to see pre-COVID where we were discipline-wise. Now we have not pulled and assembled that data for this year, this past year. But I do want to make the case for last year, at the end of last year, in particular in April and May. I don't know that you know this, but I started to feel like a huge failure. I almost felt like Coach David from the book, because I don't want to tell you it was mad chaos, but I do want to tell you that in the spring, after spring break, even leading up to spring break, I really felt like, was I doing my job? Was I leading our school well? When we have kids feeling like they can be anywhere they want to be, do a lot of what they feel like they wanted to do. Yes, we did address some behaviors, but guys, at the end of that year, something had to change. So we have a new class coming to us this year, the class of 2025, this year's freshmen will be coming to us, and they'll be starting their high school career. We have the ability, the duty to reset for them the school experience. Okay? And so I wholeheartedly believe that if we do as we just learned and stick together and not be independent contractors, but be a team with clarity, with consistency, ladies and gentlemen, I feel like we can help reset their school experience. And we want to focus in one area. At the freshman center, really not 7 through 12, but at the freshman center, what we need to do is try and tackle our hallway transitions. All right, if we can get our hallway transitions from class to class under wraps, wow, I think it'll pave the way for less disruptions in the classroom. I think it'll pave the way for reduced tardies to class. If we just come to some commonality and some consistency on hallway transitions, what we expect and what we will accept is in terms of what student behaviors are. Guys, I feel like we can set a learning environment that exudes excellence. That's what we're striving for. Excellence means the world in terms of student achievement. And so, guys, I'm making the case for you today that in the next few hour and a half together, I think we can get this hallway transitions right. And I feel like in doing that, I go back to a few years ago, we recognized there was an issue in the morning with a particular class. And what a world of difference it made when we collectively pulled together. And we're gonna go into this year with that same morning procedure in place. It was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot of heartache, but finally we were able to pull together. It was a voluntary meeting, and we came up with some procedures and put them in place and acted them right away. And I'm telling you, it made a huge world of difference. I hope and pray to start with hallway transitions the same way we did a few years back. And we can even tweak that morning situation if there's areas that are out of whack, but we're gonna start with that. Hallway transitions, we're gonna focus in this time specifically on hallway transitions. And so I am going to model for you some appropriate and not appropriate hallway transition behaviors. And Miss Bird, Mr. Winston are gonna kind of help me with that protocol. And then together, we're going to reflect, and we're going to practice some hallway transitions of our own. All right? All right, so I'm gonna kind of share with you what I hope to see from teachers and students in a hallway transition, okay? First and foremost, I hope to see, the expectation would be that teachers are at the door monitoring the hallway, right? At the classroom door, this would be my classroom door, monitoring the hallway. The expectation would be too, that they are directly engaging students who are coming into their class, giving them a greeting of some nature. In that greeting, we want eye contact. Guys, when you think about why, we think about, we're not only building skills for today, we're building skills in our children to succeed in life and in the future. How many times do we see a child ignore us as they walk through the door, or not pose eye contact? And so we want to navigate that from day one. We want to set the expectation that children, when you're spoken to, you're gonna speak, and it's gonna be a positive interaction, okay? When I'm trying to have some eye contact with you, that will serve you miles as you go along in your future. Just have an eye contact and a smile, okay? So what we wanna see from students is we wanna see eye contact, we wanna see smiling and speaking, and then we wanna see teachers directing students who are coming to the door. We want to see them directing them into the classroom to their assigned seat and beginning their do now. Beginning their do now. Again, we want to see teachers interacting and smiling, inciting eye contact with our students. We also want to see them going into the, directing them into the classroom to their assigned seat and beginning their do now. All right? And so, Miss Bird, Mr. Winston, do you mind to model for me? I'm Dr. Lett, and I'm at my business ed class. That's what I taught, by the way. And so here comes Miss Jessica Bird walking down the hallway. Hi, Jessica. How are you?
Good morning, Dr. Lett.
Good to see you again. Hey, listen, I loved the band practice the other night. It was awesome. So if you don't mind, find your assigned seat, and please get started on the do now. Milos Winston, how you doing, my man?
Well, sir.
Good
How
to
are
see
you?
you. Man, I like those shoes. Those shoes are nice. Listen, when you get inside, make sure you're going to your assigned seat and beginning your do now.
Okay.
Thank you, bud. All right. Now, they are very compliant people, and I appreciate that. I told them, for the purposes of modeling, this could go awry pretty quick, so take it easy on me. And we'll talk about feedback together as a group on what you do. Some of you have some wonderful strategies already on how you're able to navigate your less compliant students. But at this point in time, we're going to talk through what to do when students are not complying. I think is where we're going. Is that accurate? So okay. So again, what we want to see is we want to see eye contact, smiling, and interaction. Okay. And then we'll move to hallway supervision here in a moment. All right, so Ms. Bird, if you don't mind this time, you might be having a bad day. You don't want to give me eye contact, okay? All right. Praying over this. Here we go. Told y'all I was nervous. All right. Hey, Jessica. Good morning. Hey, Jessica. Hey, good morning. Hey, let me see your eyes. Are you okay? Okay. Oh, listen. I want to talk with you about that because I'm concerned about what's going on. I need to monitor the hallway. I'm going to check with you here in a moment. Will you please go inside and start your do now? Thank you. All right, hold on, Mr. Winston. All right, this time, Mr. Winston, you'll give me eye contact, but you will not engage me back. For whatever reason, something's going on. So help me now. Help me. You don't take me too far. Gotcha. All right. All right. Milo's. Hey, Milos. Hey, bud.
What, man?
Hey, bud. Can you look at me for a minute? Hey, at the freshman center, listen. This is what I hope will happen. When I engage you, you'll give me eye contact. You might smile. I recognize there's something might be going on. I want to find out what that is. But here's where we are, if you'll allow me. But here's where we are at the freshman center. Please, if you can, give me eye contact. Give me a smile. All right. I hope your day is better. I hope your day is better. Hey, I'm going to talk to you here in a moment. Will you go in and find your assigned seat? Get to the do now. Thank you. All right, now, I am not perfect at any of this. You all can give me feedback. As a matter of fact, you're going to be able to shortly. But do you see, as we are enacting these, you actually do have a model component. So just for about 15 seconds, you saw the exemplar. You saw what we want. They smiled. They engaged me. They interacted with me and went in and complied completely with what I was asking them to do. And then they did not. Will you please write on your reflection sheet under model what you heard me say, what you heard me do? Take just about 15 seconds and jot that down. Thank you. Good with that? Yeah, you do? Okay. I guess you can walk in that way. Yeah. All right, remember, you're writing down what you heard me say, heard me do, and you can even put where I may have had a better strategy. You can even articulate that and provide feedback as well. All right, here we go. This is what we want to see now. We want to see students in the hallway not standing around, loitering. I know we have, at this point in time, the plan is to have lockers, which kind of, at least it's not as bad as it is in the high school because we do have a little bit wider hallways, but it can cause congestion, so we know that. But when students are not at their locker, then our goal is to ensure that they are moving purposefully, not fast, not horse playing, but just moving purposefully to class. Does that make sense? And so the exemplar would be this. So ding, 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 the bell rings, I come out, I'm standing at my door, I'm monitoring the hallway, I'm waiting to receive my students and engage my students, but other students are walking in the hallway And I'm like, hey, Jessica, good morning.
Hey, Dr. Liz.
Hey, listen, you're doing good.
Thank you.
For moving purposely. Milo's my boy, moving purposely. Thank you. Appreciate you moving purposely through the classroom. All right. I don't know your name, but thank you for moving purposefully through the hallway. Please take just about 5 seconds and what did you hear me say and do? It's the exemplar. Okay, so that wasn't too involved right there. Usually the more involved is when students are not performing behaviors that we want them to perform. And so, all right, you guys, I'm going to engage you now in trying to ensure that you move purposefully to class, okay? So here we go. Ding, ding, ding. Dr. Lett comes out, he's monitoring the hallway.
Hey, have you seen Susie? I need to wait right here. She's bringing me my Chromebook
guys.
because she had it with me.
No, I hadn't seen her.
Jessica,
Did
you hear about her?
Hi.
Good morning. Hey, bud. Hey, guys. At the freshman center, listen, please make sure that we're moving purposefully to class. Walk and
Oh, I'm
talk, that's
moving
perfectly fine.
Okay, we'll
Thank
find her
you.
down here.
Thank you so much.
We'll get it down here.
Thank y'all. Appreciate it. All right,
Then the
good.
next teacher gets them.
Then the next teacher hits them up, so. All right, okay. And you guys know that each of these come with their own set of challenges, but at the end of the day, it's communicating clearly what we expect, as well as positively, non-evasively trying to engage our students and let them meet the expectation. Praise them when they are meeting the expectation and guide them when they are not meeting the expectation, in so much as to not create that power struggle. And that's really hard to do. It's a balance, but that's what we're trying to achieve. Staying out of that power struggle, and that would involve our administrative team when there are issues of power struggles. But that non-evasive situation is what we're trying to target and get to, where piece of that going back to the book, connection. When you have a connection with that kid, they're gonna wanna please you more, unless they got something going on. All right, so next. All right, so we talked about, here's some examples to model, and then you guys are going to talk through the rubric after this, okay? All right, so some examples to model: positively, non-evasively, and individually speak to students. Clarify for a student why you asked to speak to them. So, for example, it was Milo's, hey buddy, stop, hang on just a second. Hey bud, at the freshman center, we're trying to ensure that we have a positive interaction and connect with each student. You know what I'm saying? And so let them know what we're seeing and expecting and why you stopped them. Ensure they understand the appropriate behavior. Do you understand the appropriate behavior? It's an interaction, eye contact, because we're trying to be future focused as well as today focused, but future focused also, and build those skills into you, and then have that interaction. I just want to connect with kids in a positive way, right? Ensure student complies. So in an instance where you might have a student running or horse playing in the hallway, it would be stop, pause, let them know specifically, hey, we're not gonna run or horse play in the hall, so if you don't mind, I need you to go back to a certain spot and show me that you can walk with a purpose to class. Does that make sense? And then have them model that appropriate behavior. That's what we're trying to get to. All right. Yes, sir. Liv, what's up?
Did you do a demonstration of whenever one of the kids absolutely refuses to do what you asked them to? Because that happened a few times last year.
Maybe like refuses to take off his hat or. Put his pants.
Where it turns into some sort of a
A
disciplinary.
power struggle?
Yes, but where you would kind of need like admin found it and still might not respond well.
Okay, so in instances like that, we can, but it ultimately is going to look like, if they're not gonna comply with you, then it's a discipline referral. And it's not necessarily an interaction that has to take place with the administrator to get to them right away, unless it's an emergency situation. But if it's just a non-compliance scenario, it's a discipline referral. and the administrator will handle that appropriately after the fact. If they're not gonna comply with you despite your best efforts to get them to comply and meet the expectation, then it's a discipline referral. That's all it is.
Well, and a lot of times, guys, if you, thinking back to some of my special ed training, and if you've sat in any trainings with Juanita, you would know that a lot of times that interaction, it's a power struggle and they're seeking attention of some kind. And the more you put fuel on the fire, the more they're gonna keep pulling the opposite direction of what you're pulling. So it's not to say they're gonna get away with it, but like you're gonna do the referral and where it's gonna be handled. It just may not be right at that instantaneous moment if it's not an emergency. So I think sometimes you're just adding fuel to the fire when
The issue, here's the breakdown. Last year, and I'm gonna own this, last year, there would be a student coming through and they would have earbuds in their ear. I would say something to them. They would either not comply or comply and then get around the corner and not comply again. And there was no follow through on a discipline form. And so we just communicated to that child that that's appropriate.
And so sometimes with the kid, like they're gonna say, no, I'm not taking my hat off, or, mm-mm. And I would say, you know, one of our rules in our handbook is that you don't wear hats inside the building. So help me understand
Right.
why you think that it would be okay for you to break the rules, but then Joe over here not break the rules, cause I don't understand, is there something that I'm missing? You know, sometimes the kid will be like, is she really asking me all that? And they're like, I'm just gonna take the damn hat off and go on.
At the freshman center,
Serious.
at the
He's
freshman
asking
center, this is
questions.
what we're trying to ensure our students are doing on a daily basis. All right? Here's the modeled expectation. If they're not going to, is there a reason you're not wanting to meet that expectation? Is there a reason you're not wanting to take your earbuds out of your ear? It really doesn't matter what their reason is. They need to comply, but at least we're giving them an opportunity for voice, and then we're giving them an opportunity to say that's a major safety concern.
And then if they still don't do it and you put all that on there, there's not a parent in the world that's gonna say, she asked you what your problem was and you still said something like that. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. So earbuds in the ear, Milos. You're my hard one right here. But I mean, obviously we're gonna get there. But earbuds in the ear, and so come on, Milos. Hey, bud.
Thanks, Sagan. When is your account day?
I need to talk.
What's that?
Hey,
Oh,
how are you, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey, thank you for the eye contact. Hey, listen, the earbuds in the ear. Okay, that's a major safety concern. I'm not gonna take them from you, but here's what I need to know. Is there a reason you have them in your ear?
Alright, you hear about that new song that came out by Tupac, man?
Okay, and I'm good with that. And I'm good with that. Listen, when you're not here, I'm totally fine with you doing whatever you wanna do, but here at the freshman center, we're not gonna have the earbuds in the ear or have our cell phone in use because those are both policy issues, but here's where we are. That's also a major safety concern, because if I need to get your attention, like I was trying to get your attention, and and you weren't really paying attention, and you can't hear me call your name. And that's not gonna be good, okay? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
Alright, from this point forward, here's what I need. You do not have those in your ear while you're at school, okay? Thank you, bud. Alright, he was very kind. He was very kind and compliant. Very kind and compliant. Naturally, you're gonna have those who are not, but if you're trying to enforce this consistently from day one, kids are, from day one, I go back to Miss White. Miss White, from day one, ladies and gentlemen, when you come in the room, we're not gonna have things on our desk. She had a very strong start. In December, by and large, came back in the room, hey guys, we've already talked about this. We're not gonna have stuff on the desk, so go ahead and clear that off now. Every day. Just that simple. And it wasn't a write-up, but it was from day one. every day. Hey guys, we're gonna have that workspace clear, so make sure that that is clear. Every day, every class period. And it was not a write-up situation. She never wrote somebody up for being defiant on that. But she consistently nailed that down. And so that's what we're talking about when we're talking about independent contractors versus consistent effort, collective effort. We have a collective ability to reset this year for our kids. Or we can look at April and May of last year, this year. It's up to us. All right, so if you guys don't mind to go through the rubric real fast.
Okay, I'm gonna try to zoom in on this because the print
hard.
is too
It's hard to
tiny.
see.
Oh, that's fine. But just to kind of give you an overview, we have 3 columns: advanced, proficient, working towards, and needs improvement. And in each column, we talk about what the teachers are doing, what the students are doing, and what the leaders are doing. So it breaks down like everybody involved, what it should look like. Of course, advanced is pretty much gonna be 100% down the board. Proficient is 85%. And then you go across to working towards is about 65%, and needs improvement would be 50%. Or I guess below 65 really. I'm just gonna kinda hit on some of the high points, which is some of the things Dr. Lett has already talked about in the expectations. You wanna do teachers and I can do students and leaders, or vice versa?
That's fine. So right now you see on the far left hand, advanced is pretty much we're a well-oiled machine. Okay, so that we're obviously trying to push towards this. And this is something that's from the district down. It's not just Florence Freshman Center. So even when central office comes into our schools, they're looking for this. That has been very thoroughly communicated.
And let me say this, it's not about a gotcha, it's about a 7 through 12 class, a hallway transition expectation. And when you don't monitor what you expect, things go awry.
Did y'all not make your own rubrics at each school?
Yes,
Yes.
let that
So
sit in.
this one's only for this school.
Hold on, Jackie, let that sit in for a second. When you don't monitor what you expect, things go awry very quickly. And so, yes, Dr. Shaw, Dr. Heiss will come in and provide feedback to me based off of what we said we hope to achieve. And so this is advanced. This is, if we're advanced, then go ahead, sir.
Okay, no problem. All right, so the first bullet point says 100% of teachers are at their classroom door actively monitoring students in the hallway as they transition for the entire 5 minutes. Okay, so what you'll see a little bit later on, we'll talk about, we'll kind of go through the role playing and stuff. The idea is about setting the expectation that the kids see that consistency from us. Going back to that quote that I mentioned at the beginning of the day that I really like, you know, at the end of the day, we set the culture and they have to fit in line, like they're children, so they have to, or either deal with the consequences until they fit in line. And so the idea is about making sure that they see that consistency, whether they're downstairs, upstairs, what have you, that we're there outside of the classroom to actually greet the kids. So ultimately we're trying to get to the advance where we can do this. The second bullet point, 100% of teachers are greeting students as they arrive to class with good eye contact and smiling, which that's what Dr. Lett was trying to do earlier to model that for you guys. The third bullet point, 100% of teachers close and lock classroom doors immediately when the tardy bell rings. To once again try to cut down on that, you know, a lot of the tardy kids just randomly walking around, oh, I was at such and such class, this, that, and the other. Well, if we're all consistent on this, that'll cut down with a lot of the just random kids being in random spaces where they're not supposed to be.
All right, so moving into students, 100% of students are moving through the hallway purposefully to class. 100% of students have electronic devices out of sight and not in use during transitions. 100% of students enter the classroom and are seated in their assigned seat. And then for the leaders, that would be myself, Dr. Lett, and Mr. Winston. We're going to be in the hallway for the entire duration, starting from 1 minute before the bell rings until the hallway is clear from transition traffic. So that total of probably 7 or 8 minutes. But our goal is to be out there before the bell rings and stay until students are clear. Leaders are monitoring students transition through the hallway and engaging students through conversations and greetings. And then as you move over, I'm not gonna read through all these,
If we are proficient,
but if you're proficient, we're moving to, the statements are pretty much all the same, but you're gonna move to 85%. And then at the bottom, we made, for leaders, it says, they're out there, let's see here, leaders are in the hallway for the entire duration from 1 minute before the bell until hallway traffic is clear, so it's the same, but then as you move across, we're not gonna, like if we were, I forget what that third column is, I'm sorry. Working towards, we may not make it out there the entire time, or we're late getting in the hallway. So, and we're not engaging students as they walk through. So, and it moves to 65% and then again to 50 for that last column. But the statements are pretty much the same all the way across, the numbers just change. So I'm not going to read every one of those to you because again, you're all educated humans.
all right, and so essentially this rubric is, the goal is that over time, we see results leading toward proficient, at least. Over time, we see results leading toward proficient. And if we're there, think about the opposite impact that makes on discipline referrals. If we are proficient or leading toward, I don't know that we'll ever be totally advanced in every category every day. But if we are proficient or above, that opposite impact is a reduction in discipline referrals, because from day one, we're teaching, we're instructing, we're non-invasively engaging. And where students are not complying, there is a opposite action, which is typically a discipline referral, and then we go from there, okay? But there's a component for leaders, there is also a component for teachers in every bit of this. Do you have a question? Or?
No, it's a statement I was gonna make.
Yes.
So one of the things when we were discussing kind of how this was going to roll out last week, one of the things I was pleased to discuss, and one of the things we came to a consensus on is our purpose in being in the hallways during these transitions is to make it easier for you guys not to have to deal with students who are being an issue to you or could be. We want your focus to be on greeting your students for that class as they're coming to your class, so that you can kind of set the tone for that class period. So if there are kids that are, dress code violations, earbuds in the ears, we still want you to address those things. But at the end of the day, when it comes to, writing referrals and things of that nature, the discussion has been, you deal with the kids in your classroom in regards to if there are infractions that somehow or another, if we have to handle something somewhere else in the school and we don't get to it and they get to your classroom, it's a dress code violation or something like that, then yes, you deal with those referrals in your classroom. But in the hallways, that's going to be our job. So if it's a consistent thing where, let's say, for example, if you address a student and they are being defiant, what have you, that's where we step in to deal with that situation. So if it's a student that has basically broken procedural things in the parent-student handbook, whether it's dress code or having the phone out consistently, we're trying to nip that in the bud very early on to set the standard. And we have to be collective about that. Otherwise, things can get out of hand very quickly.
And two, I'd follow up with not just trying to nail it down consistently from the start, but maintaining a consistency. We all talk in the same language, we all talk in the same expectations, and enforcing those expectations. And where they're not met, having a discipline referral. Again, we're trying to avoid a power struggle, and one way to do that is you have the last say from a discipline referral standpoint, right? Okay.
Are we okay with, like, we, between classes, try to take turns going to the restroom so that at least two of us are there at a time? So is somebody gonna mark off that we're not greeting students if you go to the restroom, because we can't leave our students during the class periods? So we have, and I feel like that is showing a good example that we do use our time to go to the restroom between classes instead of leaving the class like they try to do.
Well, and we're not talking about period 1 through 8, we're not we're talking maybe once, twice.
Right, when we have like in the afternoons, I think from what, we have like 4 or 5 in a row in the afternoon, so we do have to take turns. Well, we try to take turns, like only one at a time.
Well, yeah, and
While two are standing there.
having that person to oversee your classroom, having the students, and that might just look like, hey, Ms. Bogron's group, make sure you go in the classroom, find your assigned seat, I'm watching you, but start your do now. And it might be a shorter interaction because they're not your students, you're trying to interact with your students as well. But yes, you are gonna have a counterpart overseeing your class while you go to the restroom. Absolutely.
Classes.
And Mr. Winston was really good at that. He would ask me or somebody, hey, can you, while I run? And again, that's not every class period. It's not multiple class periods. And you do have a planning period. That I know that's valuable time. I know that's valuable time, but you have that as well.
I was gonna say one thing.
Say it.
So, leading into this kind of I was gonna say something else, but this kind of leads into it. So, I know you do have a planning period, but that 5 minutes during that transition, even on your planning period, it's important to be at the door monitoring students in the hallway. It's, 5 minutes, and then you have your planning period for the next 50.
Do you mind to say that just one more time?
Sure. I know you have a planning period, but during that 5-minute transition before your planning period, even though you don't have students coming into your class, it's important to be at the door monitoring students in the hallway.
In the hallway.
Because if for some instance, let's just say biology, you're all not, you all have the same planning period, obviously, because we plan together, you're all in your classrooms doing something could happen on that end of the hallway, and we don't want that to happen. So I know that's a little bit more probably to ask than we've asked in the past, but I think that's the expectation to set out. Even if you don't have a class to come into the hallway for that 5-minute transition.
All right, and we've talked a lot. We're about to get to you guys writing and interacting soon. I'm sorry, did I cut
It's
you off?
okay. It's okay. I was gonna say one more thing.
I cut you off. I'm sorry. My bad. I thought you were done.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna say, one thing, just as we go through this with a rubric, and as we strive to get to advanced, we're not gonna improve if we don't have feedback from one another, and we have to hold each other accountable. As they're gonna be coming in holding Dr. Lett accountable, Dr. Lett's gonna be holding me accountable to ensure I'm in the hallway a minute before. We're gonna be holding you accountable. Teachers and leaders are gonna be holding students accountable. So as we go through this, please understand, if we come to you and ask, hey, don't forget you gotta be in the hallway, like, we're not out just trying to catch you being, we're not trying to be mean. We're just trying to hold each other accountable. We're trying to give feedback that's gonna help us all be successful and move towards that proficient.
Collective accountability.
Right.
You guys
So I
help
don't
and
want
take.
y'all to think we're out to get you.
You guys help and take care of your counterparts, your neighbor. Hey, remember we're out in the hallway. Taking care of one another.
And
Collective-
central office isn't out to get anybody either.
No.
It sounds like that sometimes, but y'all, we have been through COVID. Our kids are out of routines and procedures.
Right.
They think they can pretty much do anything they wanna do. And if we don't come together as a collective body to put all that back into shape and into place, we're going to have a lot of problems.
Yes. And
That's
we-
how that STEM, the principal said, student culture is where we need to focus.
That's it. All right. So, students walking with a purpose. That's what we want to. That's what we want to see them doing. We want them not using their cell phones and earbuds. We want to be engaging these children by name, if possible, on their earbuds and their phones. Having them not out. Students are responding positively to their teachers as they're interacting and moving into their classroom, and then students are entering the classroom and immediately starting to do now. I don't know how many times we've had to see students enter the classroom and they're up, walking around, and negative interactions in a lot of respects are taking place between students, and that sets the tone for your entire class. So from day one, when they're coming through the door, the expectation is go to your assigned seat and begin to do now. No, we're not gonna be up talking to so-and-so. And the other thing that Jessica hit on one day when we were talking through this is them coming in, setting their books down, and then leaving class and going to the restroom. That's an expectation that you guys need to set for your classroom. When you come in my classroom, you sit down and you start to do now.
So they need to go to the bathroom before they make it all the way to the environment.
There you go. There you go. And they need to do so in a manner that is not gonna cause them to be tardy as well. All right, and if they're moving purposefully to class, then typically that can take place.
Ms. Bailey asked this, and I think it's a good question, just trying to address the whole, and you can tell me your thoughts after that. She asked about, we have high school students coming over to our campus that take some of our classes. And I know the high school is kind of rolling out the same type of transition plan, but I think, and I believe some of the
7 through
expectations
12.
will be the same. But when they're in our building, I think these are the expectations.
These are the expectations?
You
I
know,
don't think, I don't know what it was last year, but I don't think a kid needs to leave any class early
I agree.
to go anywhere.
I agree.
They just, it's a distraction for you and the other kids, like kids coming to me, if I've got freshman center students coming over to my class and they, like this year, had to walk around to
I
come
agree.
to me, I could gauge how long it took each student, and you can tell when one's taking advantage of it and one's not, and I can address that.
Mhm.
But I don't feel the need of anybody leaving to let anybody out early to come to the high school.
Totally agree. Now, the hallways in the high school, there's a lot of congestion, but at the end of the day, if they're moving purposefully, and we're all enforcing the moving purposefully to class, there really is no reason.
No,
There really
I
is
mean,
no
if a
reason.
kid's a minute late, but they're a minute late every single day coming from the high school, then you know they're moving with purpose, cause they're getting here the same time every single day.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Boyd. You're exactly right. All right, posted at the classroom door, this is teacher. Classroom teachers posted at the classroom door, presently monitoring the hallway transitions and encouraging students to move purposefully. Greeting individual students as they arrive at the class while displaying good eye contact and smiling. Directing students to complete the do now activity to begin the class period. Close and lock the doors once the tardy bell rings. Immediately take attendance during the first 3 minutes of class, ensuring to mark tardy any students arriving at class after the tardy bell. Again, all of this is with the notion of trying to provide clarity, which leads to consistency. That's what I know. I keep saying that, but all right. And then leaders, we're going to be posted in the hallway 1 minute prior to the dismissal bell. We're presently monitoring hallway transitions. We actually have some space, some places in mind that our leaders will be strategically placed in the hallway. And then we're encouraging students as well as you to move purposefully with a purpose to class. Bird and Winston will monitor the restrooms, interacting with students in a positive manner, redirecting as needed. Again, we're trying to eliminate, we're trying to get them to meet expectations and eliminate and reduce discipline referrals as we go. Remain in the hallway until it's clear, and then monitor hallway transition effectiveness and provide feedback and directives to teachers during transition times. And Ms. Bird spoke to that earlier. It's about feedback to me, feedback to each other, feedback to teachers. And remember, we're not congregating in the hall, we're at our doors engaging our students. That's, all right. So, this is a minute by minute breakdown. So students are waiting for the dismissal from the teacher as he or she completes the instructions. Students are exiting the class with all materials. They begin to walk purposefully to the next assigned class. Students walking with a purpose, and this is 1 through 5. This is minutes 1 through 5. Students have electronic devices out of sight and not in use. Student responds positively to teacher and with good eye contact when greeted, and then students enter the classroom to go to their assigned seat. All right, and so a lot of this is super repetitive, but there's one thing I do want to discuss. We actually have our special ed teachers and support staff. Ms. Bird, do you want to say anything about
Yeah, the only
this?
thing different, I know when you have transition classes, you'll be sent at your door, and when you're rotating and in the inclusion classes, you're gonna be monitoring the hallways as you're walking down the hallways. But we put once that you arrive at the class, that this inclusion teacher would go ahead and enter the classroom, interact positively with those students and assist those in finding their assigned seats and beginning their do nows. So you've got the main teacher at the door, the inclusion teacher's already inside, kind of monitoring and getting students on track.
Which is a huge help.
But when you do your own, when you're doing your own transition classes, of course, you're only posted at your door, so.
All right. We have
I
spot
have
for
a
school
question.
nurse, SRO, go ahead.
when are the kids gonna know this? Are y'all gonna do it at the beginning of the year in the faculty nest? Are we gonna present it, or who's presenting it to the
Beginning of
kids?
the year about this now.
Okay.
We're probably gonna do some modeling like what you saw today.
Okay.
Well, and it may even be, you know, when you do your procedures for the beginning of the year, I think part of that would be, like, when they come in, when they step foot in your room, what are your procedures? I'm gonna greet you at the door. The expectation is that you're gonna come in, find your assigned seat, begin your do now. Cause that part of it, you can review again, does that make sense?
Yes.
And that's phase one rigor, and like with new teachers, we do that's phase one management. And we do management rigor with new teachers, so like the new teachers sitting in the room have already thought through what they're gonna do at the door, and they've scripted some ideas, so,
Alright,
cause you know, they never heard of it.
alright. And I promise, last couple things, and then we're about to do some work. Alright. What to do if a student is not meeting the expectation? Olivia, you asked about students not meeting the expectation. Check in with students, address student by name, and ask is there a reason you did not follow the stated expectation or procedure. Remember, the way we do it at Florence Freshman Center, or the way we do it here at FFC, either one, is, and you state specifically the directive. Have the student repeat the procedure, and then the teacher might have to even model, or have them model it, that they know the expectation, and then the student practices it. School leaders and staff intentionally and consistently praise our students who are meeting the expectation. Thank you for the great eye contact. Thank you for moving purposely through the hallway. What to do if teachers are not meeting the expectation. Leader will check in with the teacher. Ask the teacher individually, is there a reason you did not follow and enforce stated procedure? Leader states, remember the way we do it here, and we state the procedure. Observe the teacher, follow and enforce while in the presence of the leader, and we'll talk about what that looks like. If the teacher is observed not following the expectation in a future instance, leader will set a conference up with we need to fix that. Set a conference up with an email that follows stating the expectation. And then if the teacher continues not to enforce the stated procedure, further documented disciplinary action might result. All right, same thing for the dean of students. Same thing for the assistant principal. And if it continues, Dr. Shaw will do the same for me. And that's just to provide clarity. It's not to scare, that's not what this is about. It's to provide clarity about consistency and what we're trying to accomplish, which is smooth, clean hallway transitions. All right. So,
You gotta shake hands, whatever.
you don't.
He saw the video.
Very, very good question, because right now, we're about to, very good question. You're gonna script your own. You're gonna script your own interaction, and it can look however you want it to look. You can air hug, I don't care. But it needs to be a positive, they need to have eye contact, smile, engage the students.
I like shaking hands, just not right now.
I get it completely. All right. Do you guys see the script and practice component of your reflection sheet?
Debrief, we have debrief.
Debrief, I apologize. We've kind of just done the debrief of the modeling, we did that. So we're gonna move to the practice part. And the practice will involve scripting, and the practice will involve practice. All right, and you have table teams. All right.
Bless you.
All right, and this is what we're gonna practice, guys. Miss Bird, don't let me mess this up, because I know you helped me write this down. All right, so I'm gonna read this to you, not to read it to you, but I don't know if in the back you can see it. So, table teams take turns practicing their strategies for interactions using the outline protocols below with students at the door, as well as effective supervision of hallway transitions. Table teams are in groups of 4. In each group, you will have a teacher, an observer, and 2 students. A teacher, an observer, and 2 students. The students will pick one of the following criteria to act out. Student A, student B, student C. So student A, cell phone out, in use. Student B does not greet teacher when addressed as the student enters the classroom. Student C, loitering in the hallway, meaning not moving purposefully to class. Student D, horse playing in the hallway. And you guys are going to have some interaction as to what part am I playing and how do we address it. Let's give each other feedback. Make sense? That's how we're going to go about this. All right, student E has earbuds or headphones in use. Student F has a backpack on in the middle of the day. Okay, so they're not supposed to have that backpack. And then finally, student G is following all the procedures. What are we going to do about it? Like, how are we going to interact with that student? Okay, here's the rotation for each group. After completing your initial role, you will move to the next role on the list. For example, if my first role is observer, my next role will be student 1, then student 2, and then at last the teacher. So somebody's always going to be the teacher, somebody's always going to be the observer. All right? And then we're going to rotate because we got a few things to work through. You don't have to do all of them. You're just kind of addressing a few of them. All of them should, in your team, be addressed, and I'll put them back up there here in a minute. We will rotate through timed rotations before we change roles, and then the timed rotations will look like this. 2-minute practice. Students act out one of the criteria above, and the teacher will practice the expectations as outlined in FSC transitions, minute-by-minute plan. We talked about that already. And then 1-minute reflection by the teacher. The teacher could say, I could have said this. I should have, I missed this part. Okay? I missed this part. And then the observer is going to share 1 grow and 1 glow. 1 glow and 1 grow. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. All right. The observer. Your sole purpose is watch and provide effective strategies. Give some feedback. 1 grow and 1 glow. Make sense? You do not have to stay in here. You can, but you and your team can go out in the hall. You can go outside. You can do whatever. But for the time being, we're going to rotate, and we're going to have 2-minute rotations.
Yeah, so it's a 2-minute practice, a 1-minute teacher reflection, a 1-minute feedback from the observer, and then a minute to change roles, and it starts over. So it's about a 5-minute for one thing, and then you're gonna do it again. Okay, for everybody to have a turn. Does that make sense?